Hello and welcome into this week 3 recap edition of the Hecklers Podcast. I am your host, Gordon Coletto, and I am excited to dive into what was ultimately a wild weekend of action across the NFL. We kicked things off on Thursday night with my New England Patriots facing off against the Jets. This one is going to be painful to talk about, so let's just go ahead and get it out of the way. The Jets pick up the win 24-3. Ramondre Stevenson really disappeared in this game. The game plan for this one for the Patriots seemed to be terrible. And of course, Drake May took to the field in garbage time to get some snaps. So keep an eye on that situation as Jacoby Brissett may not be long for the starting position in New England. For the Jets, Aaron Rodgers and the Jets offense really showed some signs of life. Aaron Rodgers puts up a 281-yard, two-touchdown stat line in a game where Garrett Wilson underperformed facing off against Christian Gonzalez. So look for that match. Look for that combo of Aaron Rodgers and Garrett Wilson to get stronger as the season continues. But of course, Aaron Rodgers showing signs of life is exciting for Jets fans and something I think that fantasy owners will really appreciate. So, getting that one behind us, we move into the 1 o'clock games on Sunday. We kick things off with the Giants at the Browns. This one, of course, just hurts my heart because I picked the Browns in Survivor Pool this week, and the Browns drop what should have been an easy win. The Browns are proving to be one of the most unreliable teams from week to week. The defense clearly has regressed. I think that for a long time we viewed the defense as the strength of this team. They're allowing 21 points and allowing Daniel Jones to look like Danny Dimes, and that's really unacceptable from what should be a premier defense in the league. So I think the Browns are hitting that point where they've wasted the youth on that defense, and they're getting to a point where the defense is getting older and slower and sluggish. And I don't know what the Browns will be, but I know that they won't be Super Bowl champions. Looking at the Giants, Danny Dimes, like I said, came to play. And of course, Malik Neighbors, the big storyline from this one. I mean, the guy looks like the real deal. I think he should be offensive rookie of the year. This guy is living up to billing every single week. Just a phenomenal athlete, great body control. Malik Neighbors is absolutely the real deal. That's what I took from this one. All right, moving into Philadelphia at New Orleans. Philadelphia picks up the win in a 15-12 just slugfest. I mean, neither offense could get going in this one. This is the game that I was forced to watch on Sunday just based on my media market. You know, New Orleans for quite a while has sort of been this team that to me feels like a paper tiger where yes they put up enormous numbers through the first couple weeks. They beat up on the Panthers in week 1. We know who they are. They beat up on a Cowboys defense that, as we'll talk about later, just is not the defense that you're aware of, that you're used to, right? So now they come into they play Philadelphia and just get absolutely shut down. So I definitely think New Orleans are a paper tiger. Looking at Philadelphia, they clearly have some issues that they need to solve if they want to be able to compete in the playoffs. This is a team that we expect to be, you know, Super Bowl contenders, and that offense really has not gotten going. Of course, they are missing A.J. Brown, but they added Saquon Barkley. You shouldn't be having games where you're just sluggish because you should always have a star ready to go, whether it's Devontae Smith, who got banged up in this one, or Saquon Barkley. Of course, in this one, Goddard is actually the one who stepped up to be the star. So, they've got talent. They just need to get things together. It's good to see the defense, though, holding the Saints to 12 points, as that is something that is kind of long overdue. All right. Moving into, we've got Texans at Vikings. This one's an interesting one. I mean, holy cow, is Sam Darnold the real deal or what? I mean, the Vikings are showing the ability to score in bunches, and everybody got involved in the scoring, which is crazy. Sam Darnold is just slinging it around without a care, and I think it's exciting to see. I think everybody knew Sam Darnold had talent and potential. It was always just kind of hidden behind a player who had been so damaged by terrible organizations, whether it's the Jets or the Panthers. So it's interesting to see him really thriving in a situation. And I think it puts a lot of pressure on the Vikings with J.J. McCarthy kind of looming for next year. What do you do if Sam Darnold keeps playing like this? Do you try to flip McCarthy to another team for something? So it'll be interesting to see what happens. It's crazy to think that we're here with Sam Darnold, given where we've been in the past with him. But it's fun to watch. And if you're Houston, it's underwhelming for Stroud to turn the ball over 2 times. The run game was really stagnant in this one. I think what we're seeing is teams are not afraid to shut down the run and force Stroud to make plays, and in this one he just did not deliver. And the other thing here is Joe Mixon was banged up. I believe I forget who their backup is, but he was also banged up. So Cam Akers ended up carrying the workload for this one and just couldn't deliver. I think 9 carries, 21 yards. So not enough to take the pressure off Stroud offensively. Teams could just kind of key into that. And I think the Vikings defense is something that we want to watch as they've kind of invested in it. And I think it's getting better. But also coming out of this one, I do want to say, Stephon Diggs really proving the doubters wrong. Still definitely had something left in the tank and continues to put up monster weeks. So for fantasy owners that got Diggs at a good value, you're definitely reaping the rewards of that. Okay. Moving into Denver versus Tampa Bay. So this one, Bo Nix really found his footing, and Baker Mayfield really struggled. Baker put up 163 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The thing that's become clear is that the Buccaneers are going to live and die based on how Baker Mayfield plays. In this case, he just wasn't good. And as such, the Buccaneers weren't good. And if you're the Broncos, you're certainly excited about Bo Nix, 25 of 36, 216 yards. So he seems to have found his footing in this one. Cortland Sutton puts up 7 for 68. So finding receivers. So you do like to see that. And hopefully Bo Nix can kind of keep that momentum going forward. All right. Moving into our next one, we've got Green Bay versus Tennessee. Oh, Will Levis. I think we're getting real close to Mason Rudolph taking over as the starter. Will Levis just continues to throw away games for Tennessee. 2 interceptions in this one. Did have 2 touchdowns and 260. And of course, the run game not helping him out. Tony Pollard, 6 carries for 14 yards. But to me, you're sitting here, and Will Levis has now thrown interceptions in every single week, critical interceptions, given the ball to the other team. And Malik Willis did what he was asked: 13 of 19, 202 yards, a touchdown, put up 73 on the ground, and added a touchdown. So, Will Levis comes in to the team that gave up on him, and he said he didn't have any hard feelings, but, I'm sure that it felt good to go in there and put up that kind of stat line and prove them wrong. Malik Willis goes in there and just outplays Will Levis and wins this game. I think the Packers look really good. That defense looks good. The offense is clicking no matter who's in at quarterback. This is a team to watch. I think they're going to go far. Will Levis is getting them through Jordan Love's injury, which is huge. You got to win these games while you have a chance. So definitely the Packers, a team I'm watching to keep rolling through the season. All right. The Bears visit the Colts. This is a matchup between two young, promising quarterbacks, and Caleb Williams throws for a ton, but the Bears still lose. This one, Anthony Richardson really did not look good for the Colts, but it was Jonathan Taylor who lifted the offense with a phenomenal rushing performance, 23 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he certainly lifts them up as Anthony Richardson, 50% completion, 167 yards, 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, really bailed out by the run game. And they pick up a win over the Bears. So, if you're a Bears fan, it's nice to see Caleb Williams throw for a ton, but we'd like to also win games. And if you're a Colts fan, I can't help but be worried about Anthony Richardson, the passer. I'm not feeling it. I know that there's flash plays, there's splash plays every now and then, but I'm not feeling I'm not feeling good about him as a passer. All right, moving into Chargers at Steelers. This one was an interesting matchup coming into the week. I felt like it was kind of a 50-50 pick. In this case, the run game for the Chargers just came out flat, and Herbert, whether it's not getting enough opportunities or not being capable. I know he was a little dinged up coming into this one, but he's just didn't do enough to lift that team over a Pittsburgh team. So if you're Pittsburgh, Fields is keeping the Steelers rolling. I still feel like they're overachieving. I think this is a team that's going to finish around 500, and they're kind of beating up on some not so great teams early in the year. So I think the second half of the season is just going to be really rough for them because I think they're overachieving in the first half, and they're likely to end up around that 500 mark. All right. Moving into Miami versus Seahawks, the biggest storyline in this one, Tua Tagovailoa unavailable for this game. Skylar Thompson gets the start. Of course, the offense is flat with Skylar Thompson, and he ends up getting hurt. So quarterback injuries continue for this team. I believe they have a Monday night matchup this week, so plenty of time to go and try to get somebody and get them into the scheme and ready for Monday night. I think they need to. You can't afford to drop too many games early in the season, especially winnable games. If Tua Tagovailoa is healthy, they should beat the Seahawks. So this is an interesting one. And the Hawks, they keep winning despite rocky QB play from Geno Smith. And the defense looks great. The Seahawks have quietly been building up a very good defense. They went and got a defensive-minded head coach from the Ravens last year, and I think that they're kind of getting back to the Seattle of the early tens, where it's like, okay, we're going to play really good defense, and we're going to manage our identity on offense through the run game, and that's where Kenneth Walker has really shined, and of course in this one with Walker unavailable, um, Zachary Charbonnet really shines. So I look for them to actually kind of move more to a two-back set now that they've seen the kind of production they can get out of Charbonnet. So unfortunate for Kenneth Walker owners such as myself, but that's just the nature of the game. All right, Carolina goes to the Raiders, and oh boy, we had the return of the Red Rifle, Andy Dalton, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns, and boy, I mean, what does this say about Bryce Young? I mean, Andy Dalton looked phenomenal in that offense. He could not put a ball wrong in that game. Everything was falling his way, and they just rolled through the Raiders. And if you're the Raiders, I mean, I think a QB shakeup has to be coming. Gardner Minshew's just not good. Aiden O'Connell's also not good, but at least young. And you don't know. There's a little bit more of an unknown with him. So I think Aiden O'Connell's going to get the start next week. We'll see if they choose to go that direction. They certainly did towards the end of the game, flipping over to Aiden O'Connell, and he looked good in garbage time. So, you know, it's an interesting situation, but I think if you're the Raiders, like just keep expectations in front of you. Like you're not a playoff team. You're playing probably for a top 5 draft pick. So, I mean, does it really matter that you're losing? Not really. Ideally, you'd like to see something. Of course, Trey Tucker kind of starting to flash a little bit. They may end up getting rid of Devontae Adams and just kind of roll with Jacoby Myers and Trey Tucker. So that'll be interesting. I'm hopeful as a Trey Tucker owner. Okay. We've got San Francisco versus the Rams. Big storylines in this one. Rams without Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Would that offense be able to do anything? And boy, were they. Kyron Williams lifted that team up without the key starters at receiver and really did carry the workload for them and pulled them over San Francisco. And if you're San Francisco, Brock Purdy shined in this one, looked really good, but the defense just couldn't help him. And that's a concern because the defensive identity for the 49ers has for a long time been strong and really carried the team with Brock Purdy just kind of doing enough. And now you're seeing Purdy doing more and the defense not holding up their end of the bargain. So if you're a 49ers fan, something to watch if that defense continues to struggle. That's going to spell disaster, I think, for them coming into the playoffs. All right. We've got Lions at Cardinals. Kyler really struggled in this one without the run game supporting his passing. Just really a pedestrian quarterback this weekend. And if you look at the Lions, their offense was still not great. This was a 20-13 win. And one of those plays was like a hook and ladder. So without that hook and ladder, it's 13-13. So, the offense is still really not going, but they do get a much needed win to stay on track, especially as we talked about the Packers, the Vikings looking good. You don't want to fall behind if you're the Lions because this is going to come down to those divisional matchups. So you don't want to give up losses to a team like the Cardinals. So a much needed win for the Lions, but still a lot to figure out. All right, Baltimore at Dallas, one that I think a lot of people had eyes on to see what would happen. Lamar and Henry's legs were really the difference in this one. They just ran all over Dallas, and they win 28-25. The Cowboys, Dak had 51 pass attempts, and Dak looked. I mean, aside from the completion percentage, like Dak put up really great numbers, but a lot of it is like chasing from behind. So yeah, you're throwing a ton and you're picking up a lot of stats, but at the end of the day, the concern I have is that this Cowboys defense is clearly missing Dan Quinn. And when he left to go to the Commanders in the offseason, I don't think enough people talked about the impact that would have on this defense. It doesn't matter if you have all these stars like Micah Parsons, if you don't have the brilliant defensive mind behind it, it's just not going to work out. And I think that's what we're seeing for the Cowboys. So I've got concerns for their defense. That whole NFC East just kind of looks like a mess right now. But someone's going to come out of there, and it's probably going to be Philadelphia or Dallas. And if they get into the playoffs, who knows? But they need to figure something out on defense. All right. Chiefs at Falcons, another game that just pissed me off to no end. I grew up a Falcons fan. I was rooting for the Falcons in this one, and they wasted really good opportunities at the end of the game with horrible play calling. And throughout the game, they were running these runs to the left side, kind of like between the tackle and guard, and every single time, Nick Bolton of the Chiefs would just come through the hole, hit the running back, and it would go for nothing. And you come down to a key fourth down play, and you send Bijan Robinson out there, who had really been outrushed by Tyler Algier the whole night. You send Bijan out there, and you run the same fucking play that's been getting blown up all night, and it gets blown up for like -3 yards to lose the game. So just a complete waste, terrible play calling by the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. So really just a shame there. And then if you're the Chiefs, you're bailed out by the refs again. The refs miss a clear pass interference call in the end zone against Kyle Pitts and really just hand the Chiefs the victory, even though they still almost blew it on the following drive. I mean, if you're the Chiefs, you're the luckiest team in football right now. You very easily could be 0-3 based on the games you've played, and somehow you're sitting at 3-0. They'll have time to get things together and to figure it out, but I'm not impressed by the Chiefs so far. Their offense is very one-dimensional. Everything in this game, because the Falcons were so afraid of the speed of Rashee Rice and the speed of Xavier Worthy, they were playing this like really soft off coverage, and every single play was basically just a screen to one of those guys and then let them cook after the catch. So I was really unimpressed with the Chiefs. They should have lost this game, but the refs bailed them out and the Falcons bailed them out on the last drive. So Chiefs, they stay lucky. We'll see what happens. Rooting against them for sure. All right, Buffalo versus Jacksonville. This was a Monday night matchup. We had two of them. Trevor Lawrence. Oh man, the struggles continue. I mean, this guy just got the Brinks truck backed up, and he's led his team to an 0-3 start to the season. I mean, they've been slow starters for years. I don't want to like sound the alarm too early, but by God, with how much Lawrence was paid, I mean, this is concerning. 0-3 to start the year. He looked awful in this game. And on the opposite side of the field, Josh Allen took over and dominated. And that's when you see that, it makes the difference really clear between these top five quarterbacks who truly lift their team when they need it and everybody else. And right now, Trevor Lawrence is everybody else. He's Daniel Jones, right? Like that's a concern if you are Jacksonville because you just paid this guy a boatload, and I guarantee you Mac Jones sitting on the bench could have had a better game last night than Trevor Lawrence. All right. Let's I want to touch on one thing real quick. So Jacksonville sitting at 0-3, and the Bills sitting at 3-0. These are two teams that people were kind of expecting to be good. The Bills contenders, right? Like this Bills team looks really good, physical, really strong defensively, but then also just I'm loving the way this offense is built. One, force Josh Allen to do Josh Allen things. Two, we're gonna run the ball with strength. We're gonna play off Dalton Kincaid and Keon White, or sorry, not Keon White, Keon Coleman. And I love the physicality of this team. I think they're built for a playoffs that is going to be ultimately. I right now sitting here today, I'm going to say the Bills are my Super Bowl favorites. If they were to go up against Kansas City, they would manhandle them right now, with how physical they play and how soft Kansas City is. All right, last one for the weekend, late game, or not even a late game last night, just like the 8 o'clock game. But we had the Commanders versus the Bengals. Burrow and Chase lit it up in this game, but of course the defense doesn't help them, and they drop 38-33. I mean, by God, you let the Commanders put up 38 points. How bad is your defense? My God. And then of course Jaden Daniels, he's getting better each week, and dare I say, I think he might be the best rookie quarterback in this class thus far. We've talked about Caleb Williams' struggles. That team is losing. Guess what? The Commanders are winning. And Jaden Daniels is running the ball all over the yard. In this game, he passed it all over the yard. It's exciting if you're a Commanders fan. It reminds me, they haven't had this level of quarterback play and excitement since like RG3's miracle rookie season. So by God, I hope it ends differently for them with Jaden Daniels. But it's exciting, and I think Jaden Daniels is playing just outstanding football, and is exciting and is everything that people like myself who bought him in Dynasty hoped he would be. He is a running quarterback with a good arm, which you can't say as much about Kyler Murray or Lamar Jackson. Like, yes, these guys are MVP caliber players, but are they really that great of passers? They're not this level of passers. I mean, I think it was like a 91% completion percentage for Daniels last night. I mean, just on fire. So I'm really excited about that. That's a team I'm going to watch moving forward. A little bit surprised their defense is letting up 33 points. I mean, it is the Bengals. And like I said, Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase were just on fire. But Dan Quinn should have that defense playing a little better. So it's maybe something to watch. Okay. That does it for week 3 action. We're going to kick things off this Thursday with a must-win game for the Cowboys as they visit the Giants in New Jersey. If they can't win this game, we all should just give up on the Cowboys. They are not winning the Super Bowl this year. This should be a win. If the Giants win this thing, we all need to mock Cowboys fans just relentlessly. But it's Thursday night. Thursday night games are wild. You're either going to end up with like both teams showing up unprepared and it's a close game, or one team's just going to show up ready to go and the other one's going to suck and it'll be a blowout. That's how Thursdays go. So we'll see. I could very easily see a world where the Giants, coming off a win, just show up flat and just get absolutely rolled by the Cowboys. I think that's the most likely outcome, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. Of course, I never put it on the Cowboys to not disappoint, so we'll see how that goes. Okay. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. We appreciate you finding us wherever you find your podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode. And if you are on a platform that allows you to rate, please do so, as it helps us reach additional people. As always, you can get in touch with the show, hecklerspod@gmail.com. And until next time, as always, keep heckling.
1, 2,